What if I told you that everything you thought about forgiveness was wrong? That in 7 short minutes, I will help you understand why these people still set you off, even years after you've walked away and forgiven them. I'm going to answer the question that has been haunting you once and for all. Have I truly forgiven? And overcome the biggest forgiveness myth holding Christians back today. And it all comes down to bookmarks. You see, I want you to think of your life as a book, and each significant trauma or experience as a different chapter. So when someone hurts you, it's like placing a bookmark in that particular chapter. And forgiving them is akin to deciding to close that chapter and move on to the next. However, the bookmarks still remain. And even as you continue reading this book or living your life, those bookmarks make it very easy to flip back to those painful chapters. And this act of inadvertently returning to these chapters can actually make you feel as though you haven't truly moved on or forgiven, even though you've tried to close that chapter. And such is the case with unresolved trauma. In other words, each bookmark is like an experience that you tried to push aside, but it needs to be dealt with. And you may be thinking, yeah, but that was 20 years ago. I should be able to let that go by now. Well, letting it go is not the same as resolving it. And that's why you think avoidance is the best option. And don't get me wrong, in some cases it is. But if there's stuff going on inside of you, well, my friend, everywhere you go, there you are. And that's why an old memory, an unexpected phone call, a harsh comment, all of these can elicit this outsized reaction. But resolving trauma is like removing the bookmark. Now, my friend, if you have unresolved trauma, it is going to be crucial that you find a good Christian counselor who can help you, as it's going to take a toll on you and your relationships. And we've connected with Faithful Counseling to help you find a counselor that is right for you. Just simply click down below this video in the description section for more information. My hope is that you will get the healing that you need to work through all of the pain of the past. And in doing so, you're going to get to remove the bookmarks. But unresolved trauma is only part of the reason that you're getting triggered after you've forgiven. There's still a very big problem. And the second goes right back to our bookmarks. You see, your story still stands. And if you are not creating new bookmarks, it almost feels like there's nothing worthy in your story. And the second reason that you still get triggered is that you've not created new highlights. So when you get triggered, you will automatically default to these old place settings. So when your anger kicks in, when somebody tries to manipulate you, when you hear about how the other person has slandered you, once again, you may not have the old trauma, but you still have nothing new to refer to. In other words, you've got unresolved trust. And you know you can't trust your trauma any longer, well, what can you trust? And if you do not create new bookmarks that are grounded in God's truth, you will fall right back into that unresolved trauma every single time. So, what new bookmarks do you need to highlight? Is it that God has a plan for your life regardless of the opinions of others? Well, then go ahead and highlight Jeremiah 29:11. Or is it that God can take what the enemy meant for evil and use it for your good? Then go ahead and highlight Romans 8:28. Is it that God will be your vindicator and you only need to be still? Then highlight Psalm 37:6. Well, you get the picture, my friend. So, tell me, what scripture will you bookmark in your redemption story? But we still have a problem. And that brings us to the biggest myth that Christians are falling for today. And if you continue to embrace this myth, you will fall right into the enemy's traps, and all of your hard work of resolving trauma and resolving trust will be washed away. And it blows my mind that so many Christians are falling for this nonsense, and it all comes down to the internet. Simply Google, "How do you know you've forgiven someone?" and you are met with a list of ungodly, unbiblical, and untrue statements. Here are some of them. You know you've forgiven when you can think positive thoughts about them. Please. You know you've forgiven when you can be in their presence without getting angry or upset. Oh, brother. You know you've forgiven when you no longer have bad memories. Gah! This is infuriating and it is misleading, and it's what is keeping Christians trapped. So, when your feelings don't line up with your decision to forgive, my friend, you have unresolved truth. You see, the truth is, forgiveness isn't a feeling. It's an act. It is a conscious act of the will, kind of like going to the gym or going to work even when you don't want to. The truth is, your triggers aren't the problem. They're only revealing a problem. And as long as you don't sin in your triggers, use them to reveal what's going on inside of you. The truth is, you may never feel fuzzy about this person, but that doesn't mean that you haven't forgiven or that you can't forgive. And this myth that just because you say those 3 magic words, "I forgive you," means all of those bad memories will go away is like assuming that saying, "Beam me up, Scotty," will land you a seat on the Starship Enterprise. Having trouble creating new bookmarks? I want to invite you to grab a copy of our free Promises of God guide. This is my free gift to you. And maybe you've forgiven, but you are not sure whether to stay or go. I want you to be sure to watch this episode next for the 3 signs that God is telling you it's time to give up on someone.